In life, we all encounter moments of pressure, whether it's the deadline we must meet, the confrontation we must face, or the responsibility that weighs heavy on our shoulders. It's in these moments that we need to stay calm, centered, and focused. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 powerful rules to help you remain calm under pressure. First, understand the pressure. Recognizing that pressure is a natural part of life and not something that defines us is the first step toward mastering it. Pressure comes in many forms, but it's important to know that it's not the pressure itself that overwhelms us, it's how we react to it. When you face a challenging situation, take a moment to acknowledge the pressure. Name it, recognizing it will immediately reduce its power over you. Second, practice mindfulness. In the midst of chaos, the best thing you can do is to stay present. The mind often races, worrying about what might happen next. But in those moments, remind yourself to ground your thoughts in the present moment. Focus on your breath, the task at hand, and your immediate surroundings. Mindfulness helps you stay clear-headed and calm, enabling you to make decisions from a place of clarity rather than fear. Third, embrace deep breathing and centering. When stress builds up, our breath becomes shallow and our thoughts become scattered. This is where deep, intentional breathing comes into play. Take a few moments to breathe deeply, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. This simple act slows down the heart rate and helps recenter your body. When you're calm physically, your mind follows suit. Fourth, remember the power of a pause. When things feel overwhelming, resist the urge to react immediately. Sometimes all it takes is a brief pause to regain control. Step back for a moment, breathe, think, and choose your response with intention. This pause allows you to move forward with clarity, making better decisions and preventing rash reactions that could lead to regret. Lastly, trust in your ability to handle it. You've navigated difficult situations before, and you will do so again. Trust yourself to rise to the occasion. Remind yourself that you have the strength, wisdom, and resilience to handle whatever comes your way. Confidence in your own abilities is a powerful tool to combat pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, staying calm under pressure is not about eliminating stress or avoiding challenges, it's about learning how to control our response to them. When we understand pressure, practice mindfulness, breathe deeply, take pauses, and trust ourselves, we can navigate even the most intense situations with grace and poise. Remember, calmness is not the absence of pressure, but the ability to remain centered within it. Pressure is a force that we all experience in different forms, and it is something that is inherently part of our daily lives. It can show up in a variety of ways: work deadlines, personal expectations, financial concerns, or even the weight of responsibilities that seem to mount over time. Pressure can feel overwhelming, and at times it can feel as though it has the power to control us. But the truth is, pressure is not an enemy to be feared, it is an experience that can be managed when we understand it. The first step to staying calm under pressure is recognizing exactly what pressure is and how it affects us. Pressure in its simplest form is a feeling of stress or anxiety that comes when we are faced with expectations or challenges that seem too difficult to handle at the moment. This feeling often triggers a physical response in our body. Our heart rate may increase, we may start to sweat, our breathing becomes shallow, and our thoughts start to race. These are natural responses that are deeply ingrained in our biology, our body's way of preparing for a challenge or danger, often referred to as the fight or flight response. However, in most situations of pressure, there is no immediate danger. The challenge is usually mental, not physical. It's the pressure we feel from external sources like work, family, or society that often overwhelms us. And while these external pressures may seem beyond our control, what we often fail to realize is that it's our reaction to pressure that determines how we experience it. It's not the pressure itself that causes us the most distress, but how we respond to it. When we acknowledge pressure and understand that it is a natural part of life, it begins to lose its power over us. If we view pressure as an external force we have to fight against, it can create feelings of helplessness or panic. But when we realize that pressure is simply a part of the human experience, it becomes easier to accept and manage. Rather than seeing pressure as something to avoid or fear, we can begin to see it as a challenge to navigate and learn from. One of the most effective ways to manage pressure is to reframe our mindset. Instead of telling ourselves, "This is too much," or "I can't handle this," try shifting the narrative to, "I can handle this," or "This is challenging, but I am equipped to deal with it." Reframing pressure in a positive light can significantly reduce its negative impact. When we approach pressure with the belief that we are capable of handling it, we can maintain a sense of control and calmness, even in the face of difficulty. It's also important to recognize that pressure is often self-imposed. In many cases, the pressure we feel is not only a result of external factors but also stems from our own expectations. We may feel the need to be perfect to succeed in every endeavor, or to meet the expectations of others. This can add a layer of internal pressure that can be just as, if not more, overwhelming than external sources. In these situations, it's crucial to remind ourselves that we don't need to have everything figured out all at once. It's okay to not be perfect, and it's okay to take things one step at a time. Taking the time to identify where pressure is coming from, whether external or internal, helps us to better understand its source and how it affects us. Once we have a clearer picture of the pressures we're facing, we can take intentional steps to reduce their impact. For example, when dealing with an overwhelming deadline, break the task down into smaller, more manageable pieces. Focus on the immediate next step rather than the entire project. This can help reduce the sense of being overwhelmed by a large, seemingly insurmountable challenge. Recognizing pressure as a part of life and understanding its source allows us to approach it with a greater sense of control. It gives us the opportunity to take a step back, assess the situation, and choose how we respond. When we respond thoughtfully and with a calm mindset, we are far better equipped to handle the challenges that pressure presents without being consumed by them. In moments of intense pressure, our minds can become overwhelmed with swirling thoughts, worries, and distractions. These mental patterns often make the situation feel even more intense, creating a cycle of stress that only amplifies the pressure we are already feeling. This is where mindfulness comes into play. Mindfulness, which is the practice of staying present and fully engaged in the current moment, is one of the most powerful tools we can use to remain calm under pressure. When we practice mindfulness, we break free from the chaos of our racing thoughts and reconnect with the reality of the present moment. The first step in practicing mindfulness is to understand that it is not about avoiding or pushing away our feelings of pressure or stress, but rather, it's about being fully aware of them without letting them take over. Often, when we experience pressure, our immediate reaction is to push against it, to fight it, or to wish it away. We think that if we ignore the pressure or pretend it doesn't exist, it will go away. But in reality, when we fight pressure, we only intensify the experience. This is because by resisting the present moment, we create a deeper sense of frustration and anxiety. Mindfulness, on the other hand, teaches us to accept the present moment for what it is. When we practice mindfulness, we acknowledge the pressure, the stress, and the discomfort. But we do not allow these feelings to define us or control our actions. Instead of getting lost in our thoughts about what could go wrong or worrying about what's ahead, we focus our attention on what is happening right now, in this moment. By doing so, we reduce the mental noise that often escalates pressure and allows us to see the situation more clearly and calmly. One of the simplest ways to practice mindfulness under pressure is to focus on our breath. Breathing is something we do automatically, but when we bring our attention to it, it can become a powerful tool for regaining control. When we take slow, deep breaths, we activate the body's relaxation response, which counteracts the stress response. This helps to calm both our mind and body, allowing us to approach the situation with a clearer, more grounded mindset. By focusing on the breath, we redirect our attention away from the overwhelming thoughts and feelings that may be clouding our judgment. In addition to focusing on our breath, another important aspect of mindfulness is grounding ourselves in our physical surroundings. When pressure mounts, our minds tend to race, but by focusing on what is physically around us, we anchor ourselves in the present moment. For example, if you are in a stressful meeting or facing an overwhelming situation, Try taking a moment to notice the sensations in your body, the feeling of your feet on the ground, the weight of your body in your chair, or the sound of your breathing. By paying attention to these small, grounding details, you bring yourself back to the present, helping to reduce the feeling of being swept away by the pressure. Mindfulness also encourages us to become aware of our thoughts without becoming attached to them. Under pressure, our minds often race with negative thoughts or worst-case scenarios. These thoughts can become so overwhelming that they drown out our ability to think clearly or make rational decisions. However, mindfulness allows us to recognize these thoughts without getting lost in them. By observing them as they come and go, we can release their hold on us and focus on the task at hand. For instance, when negative or anxious thoughts arise, instead of allowing them to dictate our behavior, we can acknowledge them and gently bring our focus back to what we are doing right now. Practicing mindfulness also means being kind to ourselves. Often when we're under pressure, we become our own harshest critics, believing that we should be handling everything perfectly or more efficiently. This inner criticism only adds to the pressure, making it even harder to stay calm. Mindfulness invites us to treat ourselves with compassion, recognizing that we are doing the best we can in the moment. By offering ourselves grace and acceptance, we free ourselves from the added burden of self-judgment, which only intensifies our stress. In the end, mindfulness is about shifting our relationship with pressure. Rather than seeing it as something to fear or fight against, we learn to navigate it with awareness, acceptance, and self-compassion. By focusing on the present moment, we stop the cycle of anxiety and allow ourselves to act with clarity and confidence, no matter how intense the pressure may be. Mindfulness teaches us that we can be in the midst of pressure, yet remain calm, centered, and in control, capable of facing any challenge that comes our way. When we are under pressure, our body responds instinctively, often triggering the fight or flight response. This physiological reaction is meant to prepare us for immediate action when facing danger. While this response can be helpful in certain situations, in the face of everyday stressors, it often leads to increased heart rate, shallow breathing, tension, and a sense of panic. This is why learning to control our breath is a fundamental strategy for staying calm under pressure. Deep breathing is not just a calming technique, it is a tool that allows us to reclaim control over our body and mind in moments of stress. The power of deep breathing lies in its ability to activate the body's parasympathetic nervous system, also known as the rest and digest system. When we are under stress, the sympathetic nervous system takes over, preparing us to react quickly, but this heightened state of arousal can cloud our judgment and make it difficult to think clearly. Deep breathing, however, helps to shift the balance back to a state of calm, allowing us to regain control over our thoughts and emotions. One of the most effective deep breathing techniques to practice is diaphragmatic breathing, also known as belly breathing. This method involves breathing deeply into the diaphragm, allowing the lungs to fully expand, rather than breathing shallowly into the chest. When we practice diaphragmatic breathing, we activate the vagus nerve, which plays a key role in regulating the parasympathetic nervous system. This, in turn, slows the heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and helps us feel more grounded and focused. Deep belly breaths signal to our brain that we are safe and help counteract the feelings of stress and anxiety that often accompany pressure. To practice diaphragmatic breathing, start by sitting or lying down in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and place one hand on your chest and the other on your abdomen. As you breathe in, focus on expanding your belly, allowing your diaphragm to move downward and fill your lungs with air. Your chest should remain relatively still while your abdomen rises and falls with each breath. Exhale slowly and fully, releasing any tension or stress you may be holding on to. Repeat this process for several minutes, allowing your breath to become slower and more deliberate with each cycle. This practice helps to recenter your mind and body, reducing the physical effects of pressure and restoring a sense of calm. Another important aspect of deep breathing is its ability to bring our attention to the present moment. When we are under pressure, our minds tend to race, often thinking about the future or dwelling on past mistakes. We may begin to worry about what will happen if we don't meet a deadline or fear the consequences of our actions. These thoughts can spiral out of control, adding to the stress and pressure we are already feeling. By focusing on our breath, we pull ourselves out of these worrying thoughts and back into the present moment. The act of breathing slowly and intentionally becomes an anchor that keeps us grounded in the here and now. Breathing also serves as a reminder that we are in control of our response to pressure. It is easy to feel helpless when stress overwhelms us, but when we take a moment to pause and focus on our breath, we are asserting our power over the situation. This simple act of control can shift our mindset, helping us to feel more confident and capable in the face of pressure. Instead of reacting impulsively or becoming paralyzed by anxiety, we can choose to pause, breathe, and approach the situation with a clearer, more focused mind. In addition to deep breathing, another useful technique is the 4-7-8 method, which is a specific breathing pattern designed to promote relaxation. To practice this technique, inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7, and exhale completely through your mouth for a count of 8. This pattern helps to slow the heart rate and encourages deep, restorative breathing. The 4-7-8 technique is especially helpful when you need to quickly calm yourself during moments of acute stress, whether it's before a big presentation or during a challenging conversation. While deep breathing is a powerful tool, it is most effective when combined with other stress management techniques, such as mindfulness and mental reframing. By using deep breathing in conjunction with staying present and observing our thoughts, we can address both the physical and mental aspects of pressure. Together, these practices allow us to respond to stress with greater ease and resilience. Deep breathing offers us a simple yet profound way to stay calm under pressure. It helps to counteract the physiological effects of stress, brings us back to the present moment, and empowers us to choose a measured response to challenges. When we take the time to focus on our breath, we not only calm our body and mind, but also strengthen our ability to handle whatever pressure comes our way. Under pressure, it is easy to become consumed by the intensity of the moment, allowing external circumstances to dictate our emotional state. However, one of the most powerful ways to maintain calm is by controlling our emotional responses. The way we react to stress, pressure, or adversity significantly influences how we manage the situation and our well-being. Emotional control is not about suppressing or ignoring our feelings, it's about managing them in a way that allows us to stay grounded, clear-headed, and capable of responding with composure. This skill is crucial in navigating high-pressure situations without being overwhelmed by our emotions. The first step in controlling emotional responses under pressure is to recognize and acknowledge our feelings. Often, when faced with stressful situations, we immediately feel a rush of emotions: fear, frustration, anxiety, anger, or even doubt. These emotions can be powerful, and it's tempting to react impulsively, allowing them to dictate our actions. However, the key to emotional control is awareness. Instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, take a step back and observe your emotions as they arise. By naming what you are feeling, whether it's frustration, nervousness, or anger, you create a sense of distance from the emotion. This distance allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. Recognizing your emotions is also the first step in breaking the cycle of negative thinking that often accompanies pressure. When we feel overwhelmed, our minds tend to spiral, focusing on worst-case scenarios or focusing on the problem rather than the solution. This negative thinking intensifies our emotional reactions, making it harder to stay calm. By acknowledging what we are feeling, we can reframe our thoughts and take control of our emotional state. Instead of letting fear take over, for example, we can consciously shift our mindset to one of curiosity or problem-solving. In this way, emotional awareness helps to break the cycle of panic and redirects our focus toward more productive, positive responses. Another essential aspect of emotional control is practicing self-regulation techniques. Self-regulation is the ability to manage our emotions and behavior in response to external stressors. One of the most effective methods for regulating emotions under pressure is to pause before reacting. This pause can be as simple as taking a deep breath, stepping away from the situation for a moment, or counting to 10. The pause creates space between the stimulus, the stressor, and the response, our emotional reaction. In this space, we have the opportunity to choose how we want to respond, instead of reacting impulsively. This intentional moment of stillness can help us recalibrate emotionally, allowing us to choose a measured and calm approach to the situation. Practicing emotional regulation involves finding healthy outlets for stress. Under pressure, we often feel a buildup of emotional energy that can be difficult to contain. If we don't have a healthy way to release this energy, it can overflow into our interactions, creating conflict or further stress. Regular physical activity, mindfulness practices, or even creative outlets like writing or drawing can help us process and release emotional tension. Engaging in these practices not only helps us manage stress in the moment, but also builds emotional resilience over time, making it easier to remain calm in future high-pressure situations. One important component of emotional control is cultivating emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. When we develop emotional intelligence, we gain a greater sense of self-awareness and self-control. We are able to identify how our emotions influence our thoughts and behavior, and we learn how to adjust our responses to different situations. Furthermore, emotional intelligence allows us to empathize with others, which can be incredibly helpful in high-pressure situations where collaboration or conflict resolution is needed. By understanding our emotions and the emotions of those around us, we can respond more effectively and maintain a sense of calm amidst external pressures. Another strategy for controlling emotional responses is to focus on solutions rather than getting caught up in the problem. When pressure builds, it's easy to fixate on the obstacles or challenges we are facing. However, this focus on the problem can increase feelings of helplessness and stress. Instead, shift your focus to what you can control: the solutions. Ask yourself questions like, what is the next step I can take? Or how can I break this challenge down into manageable pieces? By focusing on action rather than the size of the problem, you regain a sense of agency and control, which in turn helps to calm emotional reactions. Lastly, a key element of emotional control is self-compassion. In moments of pressure, we can be our own harshest critics, believing that we should be handling the situation better or that we are somehow failing. This inner criticism only heightens our emotional distress, making it harder to stay calm. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, especially during difficult times. By being gentle with ourselves and recognizing that we are doing the best we can in challenging circumstances, we can diffuse feelings of frustration and self-doubt. Self-compassion helps us maintain a sense of calm, even when the pressure is mounting. Emotional control is not about suppressing our feelings or pretending that everything is fine when it isn't. Instead, it is about acknowledging and managing our emotions so that they don't overwhelm us. By cultivating awareness, practicing self-regulation, and focusing on positive, solution-oriented thinking, we can maintain emotional balance under pressure. Through these practices, we empower ourselves to respond thoughtfully, stay calm, and handle even the most challenging situations with grace and resilience.